So today was a day of big political showdown. Today is the occasion of Samvidhan Divas, also called as the Constitution Day. Prime Minister Modi took this day to hit out at the opposition for boycotting the event and fired a dynasty politics salvo. Prime Minister Modi has said that for some, it is a party for the family, party by the family. And of course, Congress now expectedly hitting back at the Prime Minister over this, saying the Constitution Day was not an event for anyone else but only a BJP event.
Party for the family, party by the family. अब आगे कहने की जरूरत मुझे नहीं लगती है. पता नहीं संविधान का एक पेज भी हम पूरा कर पाते, क्योंकि नेशन फर्स्ट कालक्रम से राजनीति ने उस पर इतना प्रभाव पैदा कर दिया है कि देश हित भी कभी-कभी पीछे छूट जाता है.
This was the Prime Minister's message to the opposition on Samvidhan Divas. Slamming Parivarvaad in politics, Prime Minister Modi from the Central Hall of the Parliament fired this attack, seemingly at the Congress.
Party for the family, party by the family. अब आगे कहने की जरूरत मुझे नहीं लगती है.
Prime Minister Modi did not stop at that. He called dynasty politics a threat to democracy, a message clearly intended for the Gandhis.
आज देश में कश्मीर से कन्याकुमारी, हिंदुस्तान के हर कोने में जाइए, भारत एक ऐसे संकट की तरफ बढ़ रहा है जो संविधान को समर्पित लोगों के लिए चिंता का विषय है, लोकतंत्र के प्रति आस्था रखने वालों के लिए चिंता का विषय है, और वो है पारिवारिक पार्टियां.
The Congress jumped to the Gandhis' defense with this counter.
Prime Minister himself is singling out the Congress party by making such kind of disparaging comment. I feel very bad of Prime Minister's comment today.
The Shiv Sena, led by Thakres, also took offense to the Prime Minister's dynast advice.
सत्ता किसके जरिए पाली, इन्हीं पारिवारिक पार्टियों के साथ में आप हाथ मिलाते रहे. जो विचारधारा को लेकर चलता है ना, वो हिलना भी नहीं चाहिए. वहाँ तो जाना ही नहीं था ना पारिवारिक पार्टियों के साथ में. क्यों गए? उनकी सीढ़ी पकड़कर ऊपर जाते और बाद में सीढ़ी पे लात मारने की बात आ जाती है. यही तो गलत सोच है ना.
But the opposition faced fire from the Prime Minister from all corners. The Congress led a boycott of the Constitution Day event, claiming it was a political event, and it prompted a strong response from the Prime Minister.
ये कार्यक्रम किसी सरकार का नहीं था, ये कार्यक्रम किसी राजनीतिक दल का नहीं था, ये कार्यक्रम किसी प्रधानमंत्री ने आयोजित नहीं किया गया था. ये सदन का गौरव होते हैं स्पीकर, सदन का ये स्थान गौरवपूर्ण होता है. स्पीकर की एक गरिमा होती है, बाबा साहब आम्बेडकर की गरिमा होती है, संविधान की अपनी एक गरिमा होती है.
President Kovind too said that political differences should not clash with service to the people. But the Congress refused to budge on their stand, maintaining that the Constitution Day event was the BJP event.
विचारधारा में मतभेद हो सकते हैं, लेकिन कोई भी मतभेद इतना बड़ा नहीं होना चाहिए कि वह जन सेवा के वास्तविक उद्देश्य में बाधा बने. यह प्रतिस्पर्धा बेहतर प्रतिनिधि बनने और जन कल्याण के लिए बेहतर काम करने की होनी चाहिए. तभी इसे स्वस्थ प्रतिस्पर्धा माना जाएगा.
But the Congress's attack was dented by a split in the opposition ranks. TMC chose to ignore the boycott call, a sign of disintegrating opposition unity ahead of the crucial winter session of the Parliament. With Mausami Singh and Paulami Saha, Bureau Report, India Today.
So 13 opposition parties boycotted today's event, and here's why. One by one, I'm going to tell you what was possible reasons behind that boycott. Just a BJP event is what the opposition parties have said, stating it was just for their own publicity. Also, they're adding that the Bharatiya Janata Party does not follow the constitution but appears to be celebrating it on such a day. Also, they have alleged that the government at the centre, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, is trampling on the constitution. Now remember, these are of course sources from different parties that boycotted today's event and that is why given these specific reasons. So let's go across to our colleagues on the ground who've been getting us latest information on the same. Mausami Singh and also Paulami Saha. But Mausami, my question to you would be, clearly a Constitution Day is not a specific party event. Why do you think, just ahead of the winter session, the opposition parties and 13 of them chose to boycott today's event?
A very critical question, Pooja, because the Congress has been highlighting that when the invite was sent, the only speakers were from the government. And the spirit of the Constitution calls for equal participation by the opposition parties. So just calling the opposition to sit in the ranks and be mere spectators was not acceptable to the Congress and other like-minded parties. There are two more things that really are highlighted, with the Prime Minister leading a direct attack, taking it to the rank and file of the opposition, is that the battle lines between the government and the opposition are drawn. And the other thing that is very important to note here is that ahead of the session, with the Prime Minister pointedly attacking at the Congress party, yes, and specifically the Gandhi family, he is also trying to play into the fissures of the opposition.
That is a very important point what you have said. There's already a divided opposition at this point, and the dynasty politics is clearly a reference to the Congress party. How is this going to pan out? What we saw today, is this just a reflection of how the winter session is going to be from the 29th November, Mausami?
Absolutely. If you see that, it's really set the tone and tenor of what's going to happen in the winter session. Remember, elections are around the corner. This is not the time when the government is battling a pandemic, battling protests on the streets due to the farm laws. This is a time when the government will try to push in bills. The opposition unity could be tested really because of the upcoming assembly elections, and that's why the Congress sees a very, very scathing attack by the Prime Minister.
Yes.
That means that a very aggressive government is what is going to greet the opposition as far as, politics of the entire parliament proceedings are concerned.
So an aggressive government, Mausami, and possibly an aggressive opposition also brainstorming already. Please stay on with me, Mausami, because remember, the winter session starts on 29th November and there are some crucial bills that are likely to be put forth. I'm going to take you through one by one. Take a look at that. One of the biggest highlights will be the Farm Laws Repeal Bill. It is going to, of course, generate a debate between the government that has now announced a rollback and the opposition that was gunning for the government at the centre over the farmers' agitation for over a year. And then after that, and that is now also being discussed all around the country, the cryptocurrency and regulation of the official digital currency bill, which clearly by the government aims to ban private cryptocurrencies to have one digital currency by RBI. And that, remember, is already being discussed within the crypto universe. What could possibly be the repercussions of regulating the digital currency? These are going to be two important bills, but what about others? Remember, if an exemption to promote underlying issues comes forth, that is going to be also a big factor. Banking Amendment Bill, because it will be the part of 1.75 lakh crore disinvestment target. Remember, there's already a reference coming in of two public banks that could then be also have an announcement without the naming by the government that could come forth in the winter session. So they are going to be these three important bills. But because the winter session starts from 29th of November, the government at the centre is planning to table in total 26 bills, and including the Farm Bill and the Crypto Bill that we just spoke about. Farm Laws Repeal Bill, remember, is scheduled to be tabled following Prime Minister's, as it appears, an apology, so to say, that had come to the farmers and the announcement already on 19th November to repeal the 3 contentious farm laws that happened last week. Congress party on Thursday has decided to corner the government on the farm laws for the winter session. The Congress leadership has been brainstorming in a huddle yesterday night, remember, deciding to press Modi government for the demand now to seek compensation for the families of the protesters and the farmers, one not only who died of COVID-19 but also possibly of the agitation, and that could be about 4 lakh rupees compensation that the Congress party may demand. Union Minister Ajay Kumar Mishra Teni's resignation, of course, will be on Congress's agenda as the farmers have been asking. Teni's son, Ashish Mishra, giving you a background, has been arrested already in the Lakhimpur Kheri incident in which the farmers, remember, were mowed down by a vehicle. So let's go across now to Mausami also for the latest on that. So Mausami, the government appears prepared, but do you think the opposition is going to make it easy for the government when the repeal of the bill that comes forth for farm laws, and then of course Union Minister Ajay Mishra's resignation is also going to be the highlight?
Pooja, one has to see that what has really changed from the monsoon session to the winter session. One, I already mentioned that the elections are around the corner, but despite that, there is a sense in the opposition and largely in the Congress party that the politics of disruption is not really working for the opposition. When the MPs are going back to their constituency, their constant complaints about issues of the constituency not being raised in the 0 hour and the question hour. We saw that it was a complete washout in the monsoon session. So the politics of disruption, there could be a de-escalation of that principally, but when when the entire business of the house is overruled by the politics and one-upmanship and trying to score brownie points, that is where the entire issue is lost in the din. Yes. We'll have to see whether the opposition within its rank and file, the TMC, the Congress, the DMK, whether they indulge in competitive politics or whether the Congress, it has said that it wants to make a big umbrella of the opposition. Despite political differences, everybody wants to take everybody together. We have to see whether the TMC really toes the line that the Congress really draws.
And just a quick question there, Mausami, that if it's going to be a stormy session, what happens to the bills and the discussions that also needs to be done? Because when this stormy sessions happen, we forget that there are important bills, and that is for the benefit of country's citizens.
Absolutely, Pooja, and you know the MPs have been raising that issue because remember, even in the monsoon session, despite the opposition disrupting the House and several adjournments, there were dozens of more than 45 bills were passed in the House and the business of the House continued in the din. So the opposition really feels that this is a strategy that has not worked for them, and the government still believes that they would do the business, conduct the business as they do. So one has to see whether a middle ground is found in the business advisory meetings of the opposition and the government, and whether we can see more business being done in the winter session.
Mausami Singh with all the latest. Thank you very much, Mausami. It's going to be a stormy winter session, but the factor will be how many bills and which bills will eventually be passed. Thank you so much, Mausami. For all the latest, we have some big breaking news now coming in. Let's take a look at that. All right, this is big news for all of us. Commercial international flights are all set to resume from 15th of December. That's big news coming in. Commercial international flights are set to resume in full operations from 15th of December. Remember, whether it was the COVID pandemic that had disrupted mainly these international flights, it appears they are going to now resume it completely from the 15th of December. That's just ahead of the festive season of Christmas and New Year as well. Paulumi Saha with that big breaking news now coming in. Paulumi, of course, the COVID pandemic is still around us, but the commercial international flights have been resumed. What are you picking up on? How is it really going to start? And will there be protocols in place still?
That's right. There are certain categories of countries which the Ministry of Home Affairs, the Ministry of External Affairs, Health and Civil Aviation have come together and decided. Remember, we spoke to Jyotiraditya Sindhya just 2 days ago, and he said that this was an ongoing discussion which was happening at the level of these ministries, because it's not just the Civil Aviation Ministry's domain, it is the domain of all of these ministries. So they've come together and they've categorized the countries into three categories of at risk and those not at risk and those completely free to go ahead and of course resume these international scheduled commercial flight operations, which are to start for December 15th. So at full capacity in terms of the bilateral arrangement, in terms of the capacity and entitlement that existed pre-COVID for these particular countries, there are categories of countries which have been identified. It will resume at 100% capacity. Then there is a category of 75% capacity, and then there is 50% capacity as well, where basically the ongoing air bubble arrangement will continue. What they've identified is 14 different countries where obviously the sustained the present scenario of air bubble arrangement will continue because they continue to be at-risk countries because of cases over there, the case overload over there, and of course the reports of the variants as well. But there are countries that have been identified as not at risk, and India is going to resume pre-COVID level of international commercial scheduled flight operations, passenger operations with these countries starting 15th of December 2021.
Big news that is coming in. Remember, of course, there will stay